Hey, Kathy's here. How's this mic sound? I had a problem with the other mic. I had to do a last minute switch. I had to go to this one. To me, it sounds muted. I can turn it up a bit if I need to, but it sounds really quiet. I don't know what went. All of it. I was getting ready to, and then the mic shut off, and I couldn't get it turned back on. I don't know what I did, so I had to go to this one real quick. Sounds all right. Volume's not too low. It sounds like shit to me. I don't know why. And I got the earphones turned up all the way, and it still don't sound right. And this one was a pretty decent mic before. I don't know why it. Although I'm looking at my audio bar, and it's showing good audio. Volume is good. Okay, it must be. I don't know. Maybe it's something with the headset. I've been having a bit of a problem. I don't know. I think this plug is going bad. Oh well. Long as we got good volume, I can somewhat hear myself. I decided to get rid of the bright lighting because the dimmer light is bringing out the color here, and it should bring the color out a little better in the Festivus pole. And I got enough color on me, so it kind of looks, it makes Cleveland look better. The night lights in the city. Although right now they would be lit up green and red and whatever color. Under this bridge, they have LED lights now. They light up underneath all the bridges now. Cleveland looks cool at night. All the bridges are lit up. And then, like, say, for Christmas, Terminal Tower, they do this in red and green. I think they do a red and green up here on Key Bank. Yeah, actually, all those studio lights that I had lit up, they were kind of blowing away the effect that we want. I mean, this is not a daytime Cleveland show. It's an evening show, and Cleveland, although, like I say, right now with Christmas, I know this bridge would be all lit up underneath, which looks really cool. I'm going to take a ride downtown one night. Did you like the thumbnail? Hey, look who's here. Mr. PBA himself. Tonight's thumbnail is all for you, Ron. I went to bowling.com. I brought that up on the screen. The scream. Yeah, I brought it up and then I screamed. And then I brought out my Yashica camera and I took a picture of Ron's new bowling ball. And then I downloaded it. I knew something didn't look right. Come on, idiot. Get with it. Pay attention. There. That looks better. Let's get rolling. Broadcasting live from downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL TV. And I'm the grumpy old man with a guest appearance again tonight with the Grumpy Jackalope. And as usual, our show is brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. No bow. Thank you. And before we start our nightly festivities.
But out of that, a new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us.
And now the ceremonial nightly lighting of the Festivus pole. Oh, that looks better. Oh, you can tell the colors now. It looks better. All right. This will be the motif until the end of the year. That looks way better. Now you can tell the colors. Oh, the old Festivus pole is looking good tonight. Look in the refrigerator. You probably put it in the refrigerator. See, my remotes are one of two places. They're either on the nightstand or mixed in with the blankets on the bed, or at night when I'm watching TV, underneath boots. I don't know what it is with him. If the remote slides down, he immediately lays on it. And I'm like, move your fat ass and give me the remote. What's the matter, Ron? That bowling got to you, didn't it? I told you. I warned you. You overdid it. You overdid it. You should have done one line to practice and called it a night. But to do 3 lines, oh, yeah, I know how you feel, buddy. You used muscles that you haven't used in 30 years last night, buddy. Hey, Rudy's joined the crowd. Let me get the tablet out of the way here. There. Yeah, Ron, I when I signed off last night, I was thinking about you. I'm going, oh, he ain't going to want to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah, you used, you know, even though you're walking, you're cleaning your apartment, you're out buying groceries. That's not the muscles that you use when you're bowling. And you used muscles yesterday that you haven't really used in 30 years. Oh, I knew you were going to be feeling it. I knew it. That's why I told you last night before you go to bed, take a good hot shower. I don't know if it would have done much, but yeah, I knew you were going to be hurting. Because you are twisting and turning and exerting pressure on muscles that you don't use on a regular basis. I feel sorry for you, buddy. I knew you were going to be hurting. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And it's sad because no matter how you move, you're hurting it. Oh, ah. Did you go out and do any driving today? Although I'm assuming you have an automatic. It would really hurt to be in that kind of pain and have to be like me, drive a manual. You don't want to move anything any more than you have to. Your shower's too small. What do you got, a closet for a bathroom? Yeah, but you're driving an automatic. So you're not using the muscles I'm using, I would be aching. The secrets actually started working today. I think I'll have my throat back 100% tomorrow. This is the most talking that I've done all day. I did make 2 phone calls this morning, but they were short. What did do you have what they call an apartment size bathtub? It's like 4 foot long. I'll never forget when I was looking at apartments, and I looked at this efficiency, which would have been great for me. But when I walked in the bathtub was like 4 foot long. I was like, my knees would be under my chin if I had to soak in that thing. The guy was like, that's. I never saw a bathtub so small. It looked like a kitty tub. I said, gee, I knew efficiency apartments were small, but I didn't know they shrunk the bathtubs. Needless to say, I didn't rent the place. Yeah, it's what they call an apartment bathtub. It's like 4 foot long. It looks like something for a baby. I looked at that and I said, what the hell did they wash the tub with? They shrunk it. The guy just looked at me like, what? I said, if I had to take a good hot soak, my knees would be under my chin. He's like, well, take it or leave it. Okay, I'll leave it. I just can't imagine anybody. I mean, there'd be no way you could take a bath. No way. Well, maybe if it was like one of my little pixie up at the bank, 5 foot nothing, that would be a perfect size tub for her. Not old 6'4" grumpy, God. It would barely fit my 2 size 14 feet, let alone try to sit down and soak in it. And then the shower head, was at the middle of my chest. It didn't have a wand. I was like, how do I take it? I says to him, can you put a wand on here so that No. I said, what do you mean, no? All you have to do is unscrew the shower head. No. I said, what if I put one on? No. What if I put one on and you don't know about it? No. There had been no way I could take a shower. The water was hitting me here. It was the smallest shower I've ever seen. It looked like an afterthought. Like maybe there was a linen closet there and they took the linen closet out and they put a bathtub in. I was watching. As a matter of fact, I come across this girl by accident today called Rabbit Hole Rocks, and after watching a couple of her videos, I kind of went down the list of other YouTube videos, other YouTube creators. It is hard to believe. 7 years later, and people are still talking about the Chris Watts murder case. I never saw a case that had so much interest, and 7 years later, and there's multiple YouTubers still trying to dissect this murder case. It's unbelievable. I just wonder after 7 years if his mother is still in denial. He confessed, and she was like, no, you didn't do it. He said, Mom, I did. No, don't say that. You didn't. No, 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 no. That woman is as much a narcissistic psychopath as he is. I really got into it 7 years ago. And I felt sorry for Chris Watt's father. Because I would bet there is a guy from the minute that he met Cindy to this day that he has never won an argument. Never. I bet you he doesn't even get to say his piece in that household. I bet you she is the type of wife, like, as soon as you open that door and walk in this house, shut your goddamn mouth, don't say a fucking word unless I ask you. Yes, dear. You don't remember the Chris Watts case? Where he killed his wife, his pregnant wife, his 4-year-old, his 3-year-old, took and buried his wife in a shallow grave, and then dropped his 2 daughters in them oil battery tanks out in Colorado. Because he didn't want to get a divorce and he wanted to be with his new girlfriend, who basically got total immunity, and then she left the state and changed her name. She did a legal name change, left the state, and nobody knows where she is. Yeah, he went out to that desolate Survey 319 well site, buried his wife, and then suffocated both of his daughters and dropped one in each of the oil battery tanks. And by the time they drained both of those battery tanks, the chemicals from that crude oil had started rapid decomposition, and as they were trying to remove the 2 little ones, their skin was coming off, and they said that whole crew that worked out there to retrieve them 2 bodies of them 2 little girls, some of them to this day are still in therapy. I feel sorry for anybody that worked out at that site, because it literally fucked their head up. Matter of fact, they said 2 of the hazmat workers had to go out on medical retirement. It messed them up so bad. And Chris's mother was in such denial. I can't see my son doing that. I can't. There's no way. He was such a good boy. He was such a good boy. Yeah, well, good boys commit murder. And then, he decides to take a plea. He got 5 life sentences. And she wanted a full-blown trial. You got to fight, Chris. You got to fight this. He said, I did it. No, you didn't. Don't talk like that. Oh, she was pissed off that he took a plea deal. I think she just wanted all the blood, guts, and gore, that they were going to show at the trial. Because she didn't get to see, pictures of her granddaughters all decomposed. Like I said from the beginning, that woman literally molded him into what he was. And she did not like Shanann because he didn't bring her home for approval. Because he had had some girlfriends in high school, and his mother was like, you can do better. Get rid of her. But I like her, Mom. You can do better. Get rid of her. Then he bring another one home. You can do better. Something wrong with that girl. Yeah, something wrong with her if she likes you. She didn't even go to her own son's wedding. Talk about a bitch. Shanann didn't have a chance from day one with that woman. And she bent over backwards to try to please that bitch. And then Cindy tried to, it must have been something that Shanann did. Well, yeah, she caught you cheating, you asshole. He just didn't, Well, first of all, Nicole didn't know that Shanann was pregnant. And he was afraid that if he filed for divorce and she found out that she was expecting, that she would dump him. That was his big fear. Not so much that he probably couldn't afford to pay child support and alimony and rent an apartment and try to live. It was that he didn't want her to break up with him. Close your ears, Kathy. I said from day one, that must have been some terrific snatch. Oh, he was mesmerized with her. Hey. Although they said, that month that Shanann was down in South Carolina, or that 5 weeks, Chris, he'd come home, feed the dog, let the dog out. Then he'd take off and he'd go over to Nicole's house. And she actually admitted to, I can't remember which, whether it was an FBI agent or an agent from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, that they were having sex a minimum of 3 times a day, daily. I was like, Jesus Christ. He must have been taking Viagra by the handful. Matter of fact, she made the one comment on the weekends when they didn't have to work. Anytime he could get it up, they were going. I was like, holy shit. No wonder he wanted that. Because from what, now, you can't believe 100% of what he says. But he said he would literally have to make an appointment with Shanann to have sex. How about the 13th? No. 14th? No. How about the 15th? No. 16th? Yes. Oh, good. What do you mean only half hour? All right, I'll pencil it in. Okay, thank you. Matter of fact, he said most of the time when they were getting it on, him and his wife, she would be half dressed. She'd be like, no, I'm not taking this. No, nope, the blouse stays on. The bra stays on. If you don't like it, too bad. I could see why as soon as, old Nicole peeled back the sheets of the bed, he was ready and ready to go. And then she goes, she told, I can't remember her last name. Tammy was one of the agents from CBI. Nicole said, maybe I jumped into this relationship too fast. Really? When did you jump in bed with him? Second date? I know not the first one. They went to a park and talked on their first date for hours. I guess the second date was, the hell with dinner, just come over to my apartment. Okay. Although Shanann was a control freak. Everything had to be her way. Like when he went to the Shelby Museum with Nicole. It was something that he wanted to do from before they were even married. And Shanann was like, it sounds boring. No. He's like, I'm an auto mechanic. I'm a NASCAR fan. I went to NASCAR Tech. I'd like to go to the Shelby Museum. No. How about the sand dunes? Sand. Oh God, it'll get it'll get my underwear. No. How about camping? Camping. I camp at the Hilton. Okay, check that off the list. I mean, she wouldn't bend. It was her way or no way. And then she was baking. And she was doing a live YouTube video. And she pointed and went, and he's doing all the dishes. And a little ha-ha. Well, I could guarantee there was no little ha-ha. I'll make the mess. You fucking clean it. So, in a way, I can understand why he went after Nicole head first. And that was his biggest fear. That if she found out that Shanann was pregnant, she would tell, that's it, we're done. Don't text me. Don't even look at me at work. So he thought the best way out of it was just off everybody. And then he thought he was going to get away with it. What he didn't plan on was her friend. What the hell was her friend's name? I can't remember her friend's name. Because Shanann was supposed to, she had a doctor's appointment the next morning. They had come home from a business trip. And she couldn't get a hold of her. She missed the appointment. So she drives over to the house and she's like, well, she didn't leave because her shoes that she wears all the time are right there. Then she tells her son, look in the garage. Up, the car's in the garage. Up, call the police. And Chris didn't plan on that. He did not plan on her calling the police because he was hoping to come home from work and then do a big cover-up. And then I wish I could remember her name. She demanded that he do a TV interview. Matter of fact, she called the TV station. And then she called Chris and said, the TV station's on the way. You're going to do an interview. He didn't plan on that bitch getting her nose in his business. She was the one that tripped him up big time. Although all of her friends knew something was wrong because Shanann would be on YouTube first thing in the morning. She would do at least 2 live YouTubes a day. Or on Facebook. And when she didn't do her morning live Facebook, all of her friends were like, something wrong. And I wish I could remember her friend's name. She is the one that literally screwed Chris over. Because when she looked in the garage and saw Shanann's car in the garage, she called Chris and said, I'm calling the police. And Chris was like, nah, just hold off till I get home. And she goes, nope, I'm calling the police. And by the time he got home, police were waiting for him. That's it. Nicole, yeah. She was the one that literally fucked Chris up. Because she had dropped Shanann off like 2 in the morning. And she said, I'll be back, I'll be in touch or call me after you get home from your doctor's appointment. Well, Shanann was constantly on Facebook. And that morning, nothing. Then Nicole started calling, no answer, no texting, no. So she drove over there. And she called the police, and Chris was like, hold up until I get home. Nope, I'm calling them right now. Because Chris would, I guarantee, he'd have got rid of her. Like, her purse was still sitting on the counter and her phone was, he would have got rid of all that shit. Because he thought he was going to, and I'll tell you what, had Nicole Atkins not got her nose in it, he just might have gotten away with it. Because the last place they thought those bodies were going to be was out at Survey 319. Because they would have never checked them oil batteries. He literally could have possibly gotten away with it. Because that Survey 319 was still it was a producing well. And there would have been no need for them to drain and do anything with them tanks. And where he had buried Shanann was a ways out. He could have very easily gotten away with it. Although, I don't know if Nikki would have stayed with him. That was a very interesting case. Because one of the assistant prosecutors had made the statement after everything was all over and done with that had Nicole Atkinson not started all that shit, there was a good possibility he could have gotten away with it. Because I guarantee, had Chris come home from work that night, he'd have gotten rid of her purse, got rid of her cell phone, taken the car seats and destroyed them, got rid of them, the baby car, the kids' car seats, cleaned up that scene. Because basically they brought in cadaver dogs, and the cadaver dogs didn't hit. Because they were expecting them goddamn dogs to come in and because the one cadaver dog did go up in the master bedroom, but he was like, maybe, I don't know. And the handler said, well, we don't have a guaranteed hit here, so. I mean, there's always a possibility that whatever's roaming around out there in Colorado, coyotes, mountain lions, something might have, dug that grave up. But then there's a chance that, the way bodies decompose out there in that kind of weather, he could have got away with it. That's what he was hoping for, but see, Shanann had a rigorous schedule. Every morning, Facebook Live, because she was promoting that, all that shit she was buying from that Lavelle company, health aids, vitamins, whatever the hell that shit was. And that Lavelle was, to me, any multi-level marketing company is like a legalized Ponzi scheme. Because the only way you make money is you keep sucking people in. But it was amazing the money that company spent on trips. Got airfare, motel, they went everywhere. And that company did it top notch. The only thing I can figure, and somebody had made the statement before, that there must have been a huge markup in that product. Like it cost them like $2 to make, and they were charging $50, because that company was making money hand over fist. And then, you got to a certain level, and they're like, Shanann, she got a free company car. And then you got your picks, an Audi, a Lexus, a Beamer. It wasn't like, okay, here, you got a Volkswagen Passat or a Chevy Aveo. God, one of the girls they interviewed, she was earning $1 million a year selling that shit. I can't remember what her name was, because she was a good close friend of Shanann. And they said that she earned $1 million a year multiple times. But, they'd have a conference in Vegas and they'd fly 500 people out, I don't know if it was that many, but. And then it was all top notch. Meals and everything included, top notch rooms, expensive restaurants, big buck entertainment. So, like I say, that company, the markup in their product had to be like 500%. And I never heard of the company. I don't know if they're even still in business. Level, Lavelle. But anytime you work for a multi-level marketing company, it's nothing more than a legalized Ponzi scheme. Because in order for you to progress up the ladder, you have to suck in so many people underneath you. And this is a like with Shanann, it was a daily thing. She'd get on Facebook Live and, anybody interested, call me, message me, And I'm sure she gave them the old hard sell. And then in order to get people to sign up, she was giving them free shit. I'll give you 2 months worth of product for free. Sign up. But month 3, you got to buy. And as far as I know, none of that product was FDA approved. So you don't know what, like they had these patches that you wore, vitamin or energy patches or something. And Chris said there were times he got a good buzz off them things. So who knows what was in them? And they had health drinks and health bars, and like I say, I never heard of the company until I got hooked on Shanann's daily videos. Not that I was ever going to buy any of this shit. I can't remember how I came across I don't know, I must have been surfing one day and she was doing a video about her kids and that, and the kids are cute. Then the next day I'm watching, and the next day, and I got hooked. And she'd be doing live from wherever their conference was, and I'm thinking, holy shit, this company's dumping some big bucks for these people. I just wonder how many people really continue, if the place is still in business, how many people have continued to buy that shit? Just the whole thing sad. But it's hard to believe 7 years later and people are still, like I say, this Rabbit Hole Rocks, ROX, Rabbit Hole Rocks. She's been doing weekly breakdowns on phone calls from back in the beginning of the investigation. I'm like, God, you people. It's 7 years. Let it lay already. He's in prison. What are you going to do? Reconvict him? God, the old Scott Peterson murder trials didn't get as much publicity as this. Although I think, well, Nikki got scared. She changed her name, did a legal name change, and that. I really think she was hoping that maybe she could write a book like that. What the hell was her name? Amber Fry, Scott Peterson's mistress. Mistress. My tongue got in the way of the eye teeth, and my mouth couldn't see what I was saying. Yeah, Kathy, I would, and it's not one YouTuber. There's got to be at least 10 that are still playing the original videos and dissecting them. I'm like, God, people, leave it alone. He admitted to it. He pled to it. He got 5 life terms. Done. The only one that don't believe it is his mother. And I would guarantee 7 years later, she's still going, oh, he was such a good boy. Even in high school, he didn't give us a hard time. He was always quiet. Yeah. Usually, homicidal maniacs are. I don't know what was going through his mind. Well, snatch. But to take a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old and smother them, and he smothered the 3-year-old first. And then he dumped her in the first oil tank. And then he come back down to the truck and started to smother the 4-year-old who fought him and said, I don't want to get what Cece got, you know. No, don't, stop. Because she fought so much, I guess her, what the hell do they call it? I can't remember what they call that skin that holds your upper lip to your gum. It was all ripped to shit. She bit her tongue several times. That poor little 4-year-old knew what was coming, and she was like, I'm not going easy. How can you do that? He was such a, quote, loving father. And he said, you know, well, when he was strangling his wife, she didn't fight. Well, I know why. Because he waited till she was dead asleep. And then he cut off the blood on both major arteries. The carotid artery and whatever the other one is. So she didn't even know what the hell was going on. The sad thing was that after he buried her, her body expelled the baby. That had to be a sad sight when they dug her up. Oh, man. Between her and the two girls, I hope he's happy. And then what makes matters worse, somehow he got pictures of his two girls, and he's got them up in his cell. How on God's green earth, knowing what you did to them two little girls, can you look at their photographs? And people were petitioning the correctional agency, take them pictures away from him. No, he has a right to them. As disgusting as it is, he has a right to put them pictures up in his jail cell. Then the sickening thing, you know, like every single prisoner, he found religion. It's the only thing you can find in prison. Oh, yeah, he found religion. He's admitted he has read the Bible cover to cover at least 10 times. What else does he have to do? He's in protective custody. He don't get out of that cell for an hour a day. He don't get to talk to other prisoners. What else you going to do? Read. Although they said he does get TV privileges. Evidently, they must wheel a TV into like a common area of protective custody and let people watch because I know he don't have one in his cell. Yeah, he had an interview a while back. I found religion. Yeah, you and everybody else in the place. That's the only time people find religion. I found religion. Yeah, because the only thing they give you to read is a Bible. I cannot imagine reading a Bible cover to cover. And I like to read. I mean, I read that 610-page Steve Jobs autobiography in 2 nights. But goddamn, Bible print is. I'd be blind by the time I got a third of the way through. I wouldn't even make it through the Old Testicle. Or Testament. Oops. Yeah, I think until the end of the year, this is going to be until Christmas. And after Christmas, I'll have to figure new lighting out. Right, I got a suitcase with 50 backgrounds in it. And this is the one I'm going to stay with because it's neat. It's Cleveland, and it looks neat. Not to mention it looks 3D. Although maybe one of these days I'll take it down and iron it. It's still got the wrinkles in it. I'll have to iron it one day. God, my iron will be like, what the hell are you doing here? You ain't plugged me in 10 years. I'll plug it in and it'll short circuit. And I'm missing, and I mentioned this last night, one of my small form factor computers. I looked all over. I don't know where I put it. Because I had it, I had two of them. I got 3. One of them has always been over here. Over here. And when I brought that monitor in for New Year's, there were 2 computers. There was one on the top shelf and one on the bottom shelf. And the one on the bottom shelf has disappeared. I don't remember taking it all apart. I had everything hooked up. Keyboard, mouse, monitor. And no, it's not my file cabinet with my auto titles. That's where the cameras were. This camera. I love this camera. I was going to experiment with the other one, and I went like, no. Maybe on this computer over here. I think I'll experiment with. That's the one when you have to wave and do some kind of hand symbol, and then it follows you. I thought it was this one. It's the other one. So I might hook it up to that computer over here. And hopefully I put the instruction book in with the. Well, let me look. It's right here. Let me see if the instruction manual's in it. Uh-oh, this ain't looking good. Uh-oh. There's no instruction manual in the box. Damn it, now where did I put the instruction manual? Because I remember you have to do some goopy hand signal in order to get the camera to follow you, which I don't really need. But unfortunately, the manual is not in the box. Oh boy. I'll have to see if maybe I can get it online. Shit. See, I got a bad habit of doing that. I take the manuals out, and then I don't put them back in the box. Oh, well. Oops. I can't. Oh. It's either over here or maybe I have a big binder that I usually put the manuals in. Maybe it's in there. Yeah, well, I have a binder. And I got them clear acetate sheets from Staples. And I usually put, like, that would be a small book. So I usually drop the small ones all in one. So tomorrow, the binder's right under the shelf here. Hopefully, it's in the binder. Because I know it's. it would be this big. Now, see, this one here is going back in the box. Because that's the camera that I couldn't get to work right. You know, the amazing thing, this camera here, when I experimented with it, I couldn't get it to work right. No matter what I did, I hook it up, and maybe it's OBS software. Voila. It was like a plug and play. I didn't even do anything. I put there's a drop-down box for cameras, and I just clicked on this camera, and next thing you know, it was plug and play. And the remote worked perfect. But when I tried it on the computer over in Studio One, it was, all you could see was like this. I couldn't get it to zoom out. No matter what I did with the remote, I put it in the box, screw it. I decide, well, I got that camera that, unfortunately, that follower sent me. Sorry, I'm not using it. It didn't work right. I couldn't get. I'll figure it out one day. Not here. It ain't broke here. Don't fix it. I might use it in Studio One if I can get it figured out. Believe me, it's not going in a safe place. It's right in the rack over here. I have a bin. It's like a big basket on the door. It's right there. I appreciate you sending me the camera, but it didn't want to work. Well, Ron, they're waiting. I've done that. I've come across an account where it basically was like channel under construction or something, and I subscribed, and the guy never did anything with the channel. So you got 7 people waiting to see what you're going to do with that channel. What I would do is go on and put coming soon after January 1, stay tuned. To have 7 people hanging in waiting for you is amazing. $115. Holy, well, one of them is TB2. I know that because he told me. I just subscribed. So he would be either 114 or maybe he's 115. I know he is one of them. See, I don't even look. Be honest with you. I do the replay, and I don't bother to look. And it's right under the WDWL TV. I don't know why I don't look. But it's not 115. But I know TV2 is one of them. Because that night he came on, the first time we saw him in a long time, he said, I just subscribed. So I know he's either like 114 or maybe he's 115. But I don't know. Maybe I feel it's bad luck to look and go, oh, I'm still, oh. Because remember when we hit 100 and I was bragging? Oh, and the next thing you know, we went to 98 or 96. And I was like, man, teach me to brag. Well, maybe the voice will be 100% tomorrow. Like I say, the Sucrets are working. Although, like I say, I made 2 short phone calls this morning, and I haven't really said anything until airtime. Matter of fact, I fucking choked on one last night. Get in bed after dinner. I was like, I'll take a Sucret. I start to fall asleep. Oops. We don't want Grumpy checking out with a Sucret stuck in his windpipe. Oh, that'd look good on a coroner's report. Subject died due to Sucret lodged in his asparagus. Matter of fact, I coughed that son of a bitch up and it landed on Boots. And I'm sorry, buddy. Picked it off, threw it in the garbage. Because he don't like anybody screwing with his back. And I'm trying to get the thing out of his fur. He's like, here, look. I stuck it by his nose. He went, that's what was stuck on you. Thank me. Yeah, from a kitten, he does not like anyone touching his back. He don't like to be, how a cat, you pet him from head to tail? Not him. You can go from the top of the head down the neck. That's it. You go any farther, So with all the torment that he got, and I never was able to find out all, because I think if I found out all, I'd have gone over there and killed some people. Gee, does anybody watch Scotty Kilmer? The guy is like super YouTube famous mechanic. A couple weeks ago, his goddamn garage caught fire. Luckily, the damage isn't too, well, he lost a lot of tools in the garage. But here's what he said. He was cutting his lawn, and there's a lot of rocks in his backyard. And he catches his grass, and he bags it. and he put the bags in the blue refuse recycle can. He said evidently there was some dry grass, and when he hit a rock, a spark must have ignited a little bit of the dry grass. And it smoldered long enough in that trash can, it caught fire, and then it set fire to the side of the house, and the flames went up in the soffit, and they started to travel in the rafters. Luckily, the fire department got there, knocked it down. Most of the damage is around the garage and the back of the house. And that's what they've determined, that there was enough dry grass and him hitting a rock in his backyard, because they're big fucking rocks. It was just enough to ignite that dry grass. And he said it smoldered for 24 hours. And then that can went up and set the side of the house on fire, and it started in the soffit. He came out with the garden hose, and he was spraying the soffit, and the fire department said he actually stopped the fire from going through the rafters and burning the house down. Also, the fire department said the wind was blowing in the opposite direction. Had the wind been blowing against the house, it would have blown that fire through the rafters and his house would have burned to the ground. I watch him quite a bit. Now, I haven't watched him, obviously, in a month. And I've learned a lot of my car repair tips from him. Plus, you can email him if you got a problem. And he now has a staff of auto mechanics that will answer for free. It don't cost you nothing. I was surprised when I logged into YouTube and I see Scotty Killer. My house almost burnt down. I was like, holy shit. And then it was amazing. He had this portable garage fan. It was about this big. And it's got an LED light around it. And like you said, he had it on the workbench. And he turned it on to just circulate air. Well, it was laying on the floor. And it was partially melted. And he picked it up. And he hit the on button. And the fan started to run. He hit the LED button and the light. He went, man, this company makes a really great product. He says it went through a fire and look, it still works. But I hate it when I see stuff like that, where, someone's life's worth of tools get, although he was able to salvage, the fire stayed low. So he said the tools that were in the toolboxes that were on the garage floor are gone. But like his big toolboxes, luckily the fire didn't get to them. It immediately, Kathy, made me think of that poor farmer down the road from you. Everything that he lost in that barn fire. That's sad. Because he had irreplaceable items in that. Although that's the sad thing. I mean, farmers, they're not OCD about their stuff. I'll throw that on the workbench. It'll be all right. Did they ever determine the cause of the fire? Was it ever in the news at all? Newspaper or anything? What they think caused the fire? Because I'm sure the investigation is done now. Matter of fact, they should be tearing everything down and hauling it away by now. I remember my uncle's barn. He didn't even have a toolbox. Shit was just scattered everywhere. Tools in an old gym bag and tools in a cardboard box, tools in a milk crate. That's when milk crates were metal. It would take him longer to gather tools than to do the repair. I always used to say to Uncle Joe, why don't you organize? I know where everything is. It's over there. Yeah. Really? Interesting. Would be nice to know. But if he had hay or straw, that stuff gets hot. Especially if, they bale it and it's a little bit damp. Because I can remember when I would, when me and the twins would have a camp out overnight in the hayloft, every now and then they'd be like, oh, this one's warm. And they pick it up and you move it around, or they would throw it out the door, the upper sliding doors of the hayloft. They'd throw it out, and I think the cow pen was down there. That's usually the biggest cause of barn fires. It's like when I was taking wood shop, and they would tell you if you are varnishing something and you got varnish on a rag, throw that rag into a covered metal container, because if you stick that rag in your pocket and you would like roll up your shop coat and stick it under a bench, that rag could catch fire. Because it happened. Some idiot did that in shop class, and one of the workbenches got pretty well singed. And they determined that the idiot was using varnish and shellac, and it was all over the rag, and he put it in his shop coat pocket, and then come the end of class, rolled the shop coat up and threw it under the bench where we used to store our shop coats, and spontaneous combustion. But I can remember being up in that hayloft, and the twins would be moving bales around, and they go, "Oh, this one's a little warm." Out it go. There were two big sliding doors up in the hayloft. That's where the conveyor belt used to come in. They would just open them sliding doors, and heave it out into the cattle pen. That was the only reason their father actually let us sleep in the hayloft. Although I had to swear on a stack of about 300 Bibles I wasn't going to mess with either one of his daughters. I'd have ended up in the pasture somewhere. Food for the vultures. I think of them twins every now and then. Always wondered, they get married, have kids, what they look like. Because they were identical. Except for the one that had a birthmark on her butt. She showed it to me once. You want to see my birthmark? Where is it? It's on my butt. Okay. That was the only way you could tell them apart. I mean, they were, how old were we? 11, 12. And I mean identical. I mean, I went to school with twin boys. And they were almost identical. You could tell them apart. These two girls, and typical twins, they would fix their hair the same way, both wear the same blouse, same overalls. I'm like, come on. Can't the two of you dress a little different so I know who's Susie and who's Sally? No. You have to guess. All right. Drop your overalls and let me see a cheek. No? Okay. I call them S1 and S2. I couldn't tell them apart. Their mother could. Well, we'd be in the kitchen and screwing around, and Rosie was Mom's name. Rosie'd walk in the kitchen and go, Sally, cut that shit out. I'm like, I thought that was Susie. That's Sally. How do you know? I can't. Their voices were identical. Mom knew. I was surprised that day. She come in that kitchen. Susie, cut that shit out. I said, I've been calling her Sally all day. No, that's Susie. How the hell do you know? I can't tell them apart. I know. Mom could. Dad couldn't. Frank Toth. He go, whichever one you are, get over here. But Mom, from the back, because they had their back to us in the kitchen. She walked in. Susie, cut that out. How that? I've been calling her Sally all day. That's Susie. It's like she had her back to you. Mom knew. Well, like you say, my buddies, they were identical, but they had just a little different facial feature, just a little bit where you could tell them apart. These two girls, they were like a mirror. It was like looking in a mirror. And their voices were identical. Although Rosie said that Susie's voice was like a third of an octave higher. I could never tell. But of course, that's their mother. Yeah, she said there's a difference in their voices. And I'd be telling them, all right, say this sentence, how now, brown cow? And okay. But, mom's been with them since birth. She's around them 24/7. Me, I was just there weekends and during the summer. Of course, they like to screw with me, too, It was fun riding up to the general store, though. I'd be driving the tractor, and one would be on this fender, and one would be on this fender. We'd be driving along. Sheriff come down the road. I'd be like, "Oh shit!" And Sheriff would wave. But it was a different time. But every kid, they wanted to go to the general store. They hopped on the tractor, drove right down the road. Sheriff didn't care. Not unless you were doing something really to draw attention, but just driving down the road. I'll never forget the first time I drive down the road. I saw that gumball on the roof of that because it wasn't like today. Sheriff's cars had one gumball in the middle of the roof. Little gumball machine. I saw that red gumball. I was like, oh, shit. The two girls are like, don't worry about it. Car comes up. Sheriff waves. We all wave back. General store would have 12 fucking tractors in the parking lot. All the kids would be in at the ice cream counter. General store had little ice cream counter in the corner. I got to drive out there one day. I'm sure it's all been redeveloped. I know my uncle's farm is a housing development. I don't know about the Toth farm. I don't know about the Jefferson farm. But I know my uncles, when my aunt and uncle passed away, they sold the property to some real estate developer. It was sad seeing all that farmland turn into houses. Although, once my uncle had his stroke, he didn't farm anymore. Matter of fact, it was interesting. The last 2 years before he passed away, the government paid him not to grow anything. I never heard of that. Because the farmers down the road, when they knew he couldn't farm anymore, they rented his farmland. But the last 2 years, it was all, just weeds. And I remember asking my aunt, I says, how come the farmers aren't planting anymore? And she says, oh, the government's paying your uncle not to grow anything. Okay. I never heard of that. You'd think they were paying you to grow. Nope, they told him, don't grow nothing. We'll pay you. And he didn't grow nothing. Then after he passed, houses. I hated to see that. Because I drove by one last time, and the house was knocked down, and the barn was just piles of debris. I was like, oh man, this is sad. It used to be a big farmhouse right there and a big barn over there. They had an auctioned off all of his farm implements and tractors and his truck, and the demise of an American farm. That's why I really like watching Laura Farms, because they bought property of a farmer that I think the bank foreclosed on the farm. I think that's what it was. And they bought a big chunk of his acreage and a lot of his old equipment, keeping the farming going. At one time, that's all this country did was farming. And Milwaukee was, at the time, known as the dairy state. Milwaukee had more dairy farms and breweries. Interesting conception there. We're the dairy state and the brewery state. Have to go get more coffee pods tomorrow. I'm almost out. I have to try a different type tomorrow. I've been experimenting with different dark roasts again. I bought this Harry and David's. Two good Jew boys. Harry and David's. I'm not too impressed with their dark roast. I'll have to see if they have the Folgers French silk. Is it French silk or black silk? I don't know. I'll look tomorrow. Yeah, I like this. I like this lighting subdued like this because you can see the colors. They're still a little washed out, but I'm not complaining. Although let me try this. I have a backlight over here. Let me. Oh, that made it a little more better. Yeah. Now the colors are even a little better. Maybe I'll do it like this for a couple of times. Black silk. I hear it's dynamite dark roast. I've never tried it. My buddy's wife said, if you like dark roast, try this Folgers. I thought she said French silk, black silk. I'll have to look for it tomorrow. She's telling me how good it is. You think she'd have made me a goddamn cup of coffee. All you gotta do is drop a pod in the machine. No. They got the big fancy Keurig. It does pods and it does grounds. You have two coffee makers in one. You'd think she'd go, wait a minute, I'll drop a pod in the machine and make you a cup. You can try it. No, just telling me, oh, can you give me a pod to go? I'll try it when I get home. No, didn't even do that. Black silk. Okay, I got to remember that for tomorrow. Because tomorrow, my other little cutie cashier opens. So I have to go up before 1:30 so that she gets her Christmas present. She'll be tired. Because usually, well, she starts at 8. Usually she 8 to 2. Tomorrow, 5 a.m. She has to be there when they open the store. She'll be tired. I'll get there around 1 o'clock. I better go like around noon. Because she'll be falling asleep at the register. Unless she went to bed like at 6:30 tonight. Could you figure if she has to be to work by 5, depending on where she lives, she's getting up at least at 4, maybe even 3:30. That's got to be a killer. Because she usually starts at 8. Tomorrow, 5. Because the other day when I went in, I was like, God, I've been in this store 4 times now. I said, when is she working? My friend up at the service desk went, well, I'm not sure exactly, but I know Wednesday she's opening and she's got to be here at 5. I was like, okay, I'll be here Wednesday. Because the other cutie got hers already. She probably told her, hey, look, you're going to get this for Christmas from a grumpy old man. Ruin the surprise. I should have told Olivia, keep it a secret. Because last year, it was the opposite. I gave Annie hers first. And then when I saw Olivia, she was like, what did I give them? Oh, it was a neat gift set. It was a pen and pencil set with a flashlight. And it was a neat little flashlight. They both loved the flashlight. I don't know if they were too impressed with the pen and the pencil. But Olivia goes, when do I get my flashlight? He says, oh, Annie gave the secret away, huh? Oh, yeah, she was showing me. Yeah, here it is. You don't need to unwrap it. You already know what's in the box. So I could guarantee tomorrow Annie will be like, where's my pepper spray? Olivia couldn't keep it a secret this time either, huh? That's what happens when the two of them are, BFFs. Yeah, I couldn't believe it last year. I walk in the store. Olivia calls me up. You got my flashlight? Yeah, wait. I got to get my groceries and I'll give it to you when I check out. So tomorrow, it'll be the same thing. I'll walk in the store and Annie will go, you got my pepper spray? Because you got to get them the same thing. Because if you give one something different, one would feel slighted. Yeah, last year it was a mechanical pen and pencil set. The pen was a gel pen because both of them loved the gel pens. And a neat flashlight. Well, wait a minute. Well, I thought I had. Although, good thing I checked. I always order like 4, even though I only need 2. Last year, 2 of the flashlights were bad. They wouldn't work at all, no matter what the hell I did. New batteries, bang them on the counter, smack them with a hammer, they wouldn't work. I was like, at least I got 2. I'm trying to think what I got him the year before. What the hell did I get him the year before? I can't remember what I got him 2 years ago. God, don't get old. Then pen and pencil set with the flashlight. Those weren't cheap gifts. I don't buy cheap. I could have got cheap pepper spray. I don't trust the cheap shit. But I know Annie tomorrow will be like, you got my. Olivia showed me. And I always got to get the same color. Oh, 2 years ago, I gave him a really nice keychain. It was a keychain with a flashlight. And one was blue and one was green. And then I found out that the two of them switched. Because Annie liked the green and Olivia liked the blue. So I get everything the same color. Everything matches now. Although I got to get something for my cutie at the bank. I'll have to pick her up something. Because my two nieces are ungrateful little things. Well, they're not little anymore, but yeah, last year I got them. I got them gift cards. What did I get them gift cards for? Oh, last year I gave them both $25 gift cards for Panera because one of them said she liked Panera. So I gave them both $25 Panera gift cards. I sent them because my sister lives out in Bumpuck, Egypt. So I said to my sister, did they get the cards? I even bought nice Christmas cards, too. Cards ain't cheap anymore. Jesus Christ. My sister, yep. I said, well, are they planning on thanking me? She said, neither one of them. I said, no, neither one of them. I'll say something. I said, no, don't say nothing. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Neither one of them thanked me. Then, last Christmas, one of them sends me a text message. Did you mail our gifts? I said, no. Are you going to deliver it? I said, no. Why? I said, because neither you nor your sister could say thank you. All you had to do is send a text message. Thank you. You didn't even have to put Uncle Grumpy. Thank you. Neither one of you. I said, you're done. No more. So now I have 3 cuties. I got to get something for. I wasn't thinking. And of all people, she works at a bank. Well, see, Kathy, you're old school. Kids are lucky they know how to write today, let alone write a thank you on on a piece of paper with a pencil or a pen. Christ, they don't teach cursive in school anymore. I'm surprised these kids even know how to. But I mean, how hard would it have been to pick up their fucking phone? Because it's in their, it's like bonded to their hand, and type, thank you. That's all I wanted. 2 words. They didn't have to go into great detail. They didn't have to write the preamble to the Constitution. Thank you. Neither one of them. And then they're all pissed off because I would like, $50 is a lot of money. Especially when you're on unsociable security. When they were little, I used to love getting, my sister would tell him, she would remind him, eh, don't forget to thank Uncle Grumpy, and I'd get this picture torn out of a coloring book. I up on the refrigerator like a mom. And then, later on, everything was text message. And yeah, you lose the effect because when they put pen to paper, it means more. It really does because you made the effort. But now it's text message. Well, they couldn't even type thank you, send. And I literally told them, I said, your gifts are going to be given to total strangers now. What do you mean? And I told them, I says, I got some cashiers that are teenage girls that show more appreciation than you. God, when I gave Olivia her pepper spray, you'd think I gave her a check for $500. Come on around the other side of the cash register. Thank you. She didn't even have to say thank you. The hug meant a lot. But you don't come here. Come on around. I said, hey, boss is at the service desk. Don't worry about it. And these girls aren't even family. They're cashiers at Marks and the, what do you call a teller? The teller at the bank. I'll figure out something to get her. Although pepper spray would have been a good gift for her. I'll figure something out. But I mean, I get more appreciation from total strangers. Like I say, when yeah. I didn't even wrap them. I'm too freaking lazy. I didn't get it in the box. It said self defense on it. She opened it up. I got a big hug and a thank you. I mean, a thank you would have been perfect. I'd have been happy with a thank you. Come on over. come around the side of the cash register. And Annie will be the same way tomorrow. I know. Although she knows what she's getting already. Damn girls. Although, I've heard many people say a lot of times you get more appreciation out of a stranger than you get out of family. You get better treatment. I guess, to them, $25 was nothing. $25. That $50 was a lot out of my pocket. And for them not even to type 2 words in a cell phone. Because I asked my sister, because Christmas time, you can't trust the mail. Although I did mail it early. And I bought 2 nice cards at Hallmark. I think the goddamn cards were almost $4 a piece. Goddamn cards are expensive. And I asked my sister, did they get the cards? She goes, oh, yeah. Why are you asking? I said, isn't it obvious why I'm asking? And she goes, neither one. I said, nope, neither one. I'll talk to him. I said, no, don't. Damage is done. I don't want to hear it. And of course, I got the old text message. It's sad when they expect a gift. And when they don't get it, it's like, where's my gift? Where was my fucking thank you? And neither one of them have talked to me since. They could care less whether I breathe, I would have liked to had a video of Olivia giving me that big hug, and I would have sent them to him and say, look what a total stranger does when you give him a little gift that wasn't even as much as I paid for yours. God, Jasmine, my letter carrier, I got her a $10 gift card from McDonald's. I snuck her the end, but she was delivering up the street. I said, here, put this in your pocket. That was 2 days ago. Yesterday, there was a nice handwritten thank you note in my mailbox. Total stranger, basically. I mean, she's my letter carrier, not a relative. I got to show you. I'll show you the Christmas cards that I sent out. And believe it or not, I got them off of Temu for $1. $1 a piece. They're blank inside. You write whatever greeting you want to write. I got Bootsy cards. Everybody got a Bootsy card for Christmas this year. These are adorable. Looks just like him, too. That's why I like tuxedo cats. They got that personality look. Yeah, these were $1.05 off of Temu. Matter of fact, I got to fill that one out. That goes with Annie's gift tomorrow. And what's neat about it is they both own cats, so they appreciate the cat cards. Oh, now I can't get it back in the protected folder. Come on, get in there. There. Back in the protected plastic. Until tomorrow morning. Goddamn. There. Bootsy cards. Now this is a birthday card going to my buddy's wife, the one that calls me every Sunday. This one, it shows a box of kittens. And the thing on the front says, your crazy cat lady starter box has arrived. And it's a box of kittens. Because they have a cat too. Matter of fact, it was interesting. They had a dog for years. A big, Samoyed. And he got old. They had to put him down. And they were like, oh, we don't, want to go through the hassle of housebreaking another puppy. And I said, have you ever considered a kitten? No. Neither one of us are really big on cats. I said, give it some thought. About 3 weeks later, they called me and said, you'll never guess what we got. I says, an aardvark. No, we got a kitten. Jeez, Eddie loves playing with it. I was like, see? Well, they were like, when they were still working, they were like, gee, he's home all alone. We'll get him a playmate. Then they had two. And they said, it was the best decision we ever made. We understand why you're a cat person. I said, yeah, dogs have personality, but cats really have personality. Because I tell her about Boots every night with my massage, And from a kitten, Eddie started brushing the one. Now, the one cat don't like a brush at all. He started as a kitten brushing, and he goes out. Now, they have no fencing, nothing. They live in a development, and there's a big, huge common area they go out on the back pad, the concrete pad, and he takes the cat outside. No leash, no collar, nothing. He said the cat don't even think of taking off. Even if there's a squirrel or a bird, I wouldn't be that trusting. Although, when I was working at the hardware store, we had he was bigger than Boots. Looked like a dog. They trained from a kitten that cat not to leave that store. Because in the summer, he don't run air conditioning. They open the front door and the back door. And that cat would sit in the doorway. Now, there's a step. There's 2 steps. You know, it's an old store. 2 steps, there's this round, like, porch, I'll call it. That cat will not set foot off the threshold of that door onto that pad. You drive by the store and he sits in that doorway. Never step out that door. I would love to have the patience to train an animal like that. And he's a big old fat tuxedo. Because when I worked there, one day I decided I'm going to see what this cat does. And I picked him up from the threshold. And I moved him just a foot out onto the concrete pad. That cat went berserk. I thought he was going to rip me to shreds. He run back, got on that threshold, and I moved him a foot. But he knew from a kitten, you're not allowed out there. You don't go past this point. And to train a cat that way is amazing. You can train a dog. That cat went crazy. I just brought him out a foot. God, I thought he was going to rip me to shreds. He ran back in the store, took a few deep breaths, walked up and he'd sit, and his feet would be right on the edge of that threshold, but he would never step on that concrete. And you drive by, there he sits. He likes to watch the traffic. I think it's about that time, people. Hopefully my voice will be 100% and maybe I'll sing tomorrow. And with that, everybody, thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. And with that, take care, everyone. See you tomorrow. See ya.